Hey guys, welcome to Naturally Sporty, and here's just my brief preview or synopsis of the whole college football rankings. Now, of course, nobody's surprised Alabama's number one because one, they're Alabama, and two, out of all the teams in college football, they have been the most dominant and the most consistent. Even with a true freshman at quarterback in Jalen Hurts, they haven't lost a beat. They just keep rolling and steamrolling, just keep things going. So nobody's surprised Alabama's number one, and they expected them to retain that number one spot. Number two, Clemson. Eh, Clemson hasn't been as good as they were last year when they were just steamrolling their opponents. But I can kind of see why they would be number two. Even with their loss against Pitt, overall they did manage to be competitive in the games, and they did manage to blow out some opponents. And they did also win the ACC. So that's no surprise at number two at all. Even though I would have changed it around a little bit myself. Now we get to number three, Ohio State. I know Ohio State is one of the most premier football programs in the country, and I know they only have one loss, and that was against Penn State. However, they did not compete for the Big Ten championship, which, to be honest with you, I don't think Ohio State should be number three. Honestly, I feel like Ohio State and Penn State should switch spots. I feel like Penn State should be number three, and Ohio State should be number five. Now, I know you're saying, well, Ohio State has a better record. They only had the one loss, versus the two for Penn State. You are correct. I'm not denying that. But two things. In their head-to-head matchup, Penn State beat Ohio State at home, well, on their home turf. And then secondly, Penn State actually competed for the Big Ten championship against Wisconsin, which they beat Wisconsin. And in my honest opinion, you shouldn't really be considered for a top four ranking, period, or for the playoffs if you don't one compete for your conference championship, and two, let alone win your conference. So it just doesn't make sense, and it's a little weird to me that a team from the Big Ten that didn't even compete in their conference championship is given a spot in the playoff just primarily based off name and previous year's work. But that's just my humble opinion. And the number four is Washington. Not surprised either. I kind of figured if they won, they were in. If they didn't, they probably would have booted them out and put Michigan in, even though Michigan has two losses. So number four with Washington is really not a surprise. It will be interesting to see how they play against Alabama, which my gut is telling me that's going to get ugly soon because Washington has never played a team like Alabama and they never played a team that goes at the pace like Alabama. And I know Nick Saban will throw everything but the kitchen sink at Washington to kind of throw them off their game. So that I'm hoping that game is going to be good, but I don't hold out a lot of luck for it. Now, as far as Clemson and Ohio State, I feel like that's going to be one of the best games of the bowl season because both teams this year, as I stated, haven't been 100%. They've been a little bit inconsistent. They lost a game that they really weren't supposed to because they started off horribly and they played bad. So I think with Ohio State and Clemson, I think it's going to come down to the wire. I think it's one going to come down who's going to make the least amount of mistakes as far as turnovers, and two, who can maximize on those turnovers as much as possible. Now, in that department, Urban Meyer and Dabo Swinney, they're kind of head to head because they both like to maximize any opportunities that they see available to them. So I think, especially for this, it's not going to come down to the quarterbacks. I think it's going to come down to defense and which defense can win the battle of the trenches, can win it in the trenches, so to speak. My apologies. So whichever team can one create the more turnovers, and two, which one can win the line of scrimmage is probably going to win that game. Which at this moment, I'm gonna give the advantage to Clemson, and that's not ACC bias. I just think overall, more consistently, I think Clemson has been the overall better team this year than Ohio State, and I do have a little bit more faith in them than I do Urban Meyer and his Buckeyes. All right, guys. There goes my preview for the college playoffs, and I look forward to talking to you next week with my picks.